Hey there everyone, this is Hui. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, what I'm going to introduce is Functional Reactive Programming, FRP. Before we do that, let's take a look what are the main ideas in programming. What we often heard is object-oriented programming, process-oriented programming, method chaining, functional programming, reactive programming, and so on. Today we are going to focus on functional and reactive programming, because this part of the knowledge is not easy to understand. For example, a function y equals fx. In mathematics, x is independent variable in the equation, and y is the dependent variable. An independent variable is a variable that is controlled or manipulated, and a dependent variable is a variable being tested and measured. The interesting thing is, under certain domain and range conditions. For example, the range of y equals fx is say, if we can find a function gy, where gy is equal to x everywhere, then the function xgy is called inverse function of the function y equals fx. The inverse function has a one-to-one correspondence with the original function. Therefore, x and y are interchangeable, and by function y equals fx, we can get an expression for x, which is x equals gy, which can be further replaced by x equals gfx. In our code, the independent variable is a parameter, and fx is an expression, which is a code block. We can imagine that is a block in Objective-C, a closure in Swift. This is the most important principle of functional programming, which I will demonstrate it with ReactiveObjC in the later video. Then, what is reactive programming? It's reactive. Simply put, once you change, I change. If only you change, I don't change. That would be cumbersome. For instance, in this code, what is expected to say is that variable b is always greater than a. Under this requirement, we have to add one more code here, like this. But if we do this, the previous a plus 1 would be a redundant code. And if a has changes in the future, we have to repeat a plus 1 again. We definitely cannot do that. At this point, it's time to use the idea of reactive programming. If a changes, then b also changes, such as a plus 2, then b will perform a plus 1. We don't care what a value it is, but eventually, the value of b is always 1 more than a. What is the most typical reactive programming in Objective-C? It's KVO. KVO is key value observing. If you change, I also change. But actually, KVO is not very good, because it has some operations that we have to deal with. For example, we need to add observations, then we have to remove them. Besides, we have to override the callback method, right? We need to deal with too many things. It's troublesome. So I would like to introduce ReactiveObjC to everyone. It's also known as Reactive Coca or RAC. I would say it's much better than KVO, because ReactiveObjC ultimately combined functional programming and reactive programming, which epitomize of programming ideas. I will show a structure of ReactiveObjC to you. In this picture, it has the most important classes and methods here. It's impossible to show everything, and you can see the most important thing in ReactiveObjC is RAC signal. There are many classes and methods rely on RAC signal, such as RAC scheduler. This guy is to serve the current signal. And RAC disposable. This guy is to tear down and clean up a subscription. And subscriber. Subscriber is a subscription that is waiting or capable for events from a signal, and RAC sequence and stream signal. There are also some subclasses, such as RAC command, RAC subject, etc. And everything here is a subclass of signals. Anyway, since then, you have to have a concept in your mind. That is the signal flow. Everything is no longer an object. They are all signals. Everything is a signal. Everything can be encapsulated or bound into a corresponding signal. Okay, I will use code to demonstrate it. In this example, I have imported a ReactiveObjC. As I mentioned, the typical reactive programming in Objective-C is KVO. For example, I add a KVO, self, add observer, name, observing option new, give a new. Have you ever think about what should be here as a parameter? We should pass a new or something else. Here should be a none. Why? We can take a look at the source code. Because here is actually void star, but both way works. But new is an object in Objective-C, so it's better to pass a none. And normally what context is used for? It's very useful. It helps us do some identification. For example, in core animation, bezier curve, and draw images. And here, for KVO. If you are careful, you will find that there are many writing like this. But have you imagined what's the value it is? What is used for? And what it's doing internally? And what is the result of doing this? If you have time, you can take a look at that. It's very interesting. And next, I have to implement remove observer. That is the bad part. Remove observer. Okay, besides, we also need to override the callbacks. Let me do it. I remove this part. Only print logs. So if you use KVO to implement a reactive program, we need to write these three parts. It's not good, because it splits my logic layer and the functional layer. I want to integrate them together. So in this case, the first thing we are going to imagine, that should be a block. But let me run the exist code first. I need to add more things to make it working. I need to initialize the variable first. And add a touch function. Okay, let me try the code. Ignore this. And look at the log. It's just continuously adding. It doesn't care about what's the previous value it is. It just add a plus based on previous one. This is what reactive it is. But this style of reactive is not good. If we use today's topic, ReactiveObjC, how it looks like, let me show you. It even can read this value directly. Why? Why it has this hint? The RAC certainly did something inside. Inside, RAC will read EVA list. When RAC traversed this variable name, then it will generate a signal. The next step, we can use subscribe next. And then print something. Then run the code. Look, there is a RAC foks++. It means that we can use only one method to replace all the writings in KVO. You may ask, does RAC doesn't need to be destroyed? And the answer is no. Regarding to why the RAC doesn't need to be destroyed, I will talk about this in the later videos. Right now is the time to summarize. The advantages of ReactiveObjC is it has convenient hints. And the second, you only need one line code. But in KVO, you have to write a lot, like this and this. If there is a business logic to detect name changes, in KVO, you have to define it here and destroy it here and handle the function in KVO callback, logical code and functional code in different places. As the code getting more and more, even you come back from vacation, you will lose the thread because the definition on the very top and the functional handling in the very below. So you have to go through a lot of code to get there. But in RAC, you combine the logical code and the functional code together. It's very convenient. But RAC also has its disadvantages. If you are working independently, then you can do what you want. But if you are working in a team, you know how to handle these skills, but not everyone can handle it. If your team member cannot keep up your pace, then the whole project will get problem. What does it mean? It means that your team member even doesn't know what it is. They doesn't understand it at all. So there will be a lot of bugs, and there will be a lot of communication costs. And second, the RAC is difficult. It cannot be learned just in 1 or 2 days. And third, because it is so great, you will be addicted to it, because it will simplify a lot of your code logic. If you are lazy, then this is for you. Okay, I have talked quite enough today. That's gonna be for today's video. I will catch up in the next one.